And this is Karen.
Hey everybody, I'm Shane.
Today we're looking at part 2 of the cold hard facts about frozen food. And the vocabulary words are produce.
Produce.
Yvonne picked up some fresh produce at the market.
Contain.
Contain.
This bag of potato chips contains a large amount of salt.
Oh no.
Don't eat it.
Necessary.
Necessary.
At my dad's office, it's not necessary to wear a suit and tie.
Bacteria.
Bacteria.
Washing your hands kills most of the bacteria on them.
Microwave.
Microwave.
Bernie took the chicken out of the microwave, but it was too hot to eat.
So dangerous.
I know, so we're still talking about frozen food, right?
Yeah, so we were talking about when we were growing up, and even now we still like to eat frozen food, right?
Because it's really, really convenient.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about it going bad.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. But some people have some concerns about frozen food. They believe that they're not as healthy as fresh, prepared meals.
Yeah, but it's really interesting because they're in fact even more fresh and more nutritious than the foods that you get in the grocery store. Fresh fruits, right?
How so?
Because they pick them and they freeze them immediately. So all the nutrition is locked in there. If you put a food, like a fruit, an apple, on a shelf, and you leave it there or you put it in a truck to be transferred to a grocery store, it starts to lose the vitamins and the nutrition in it.
Okay.
But frozen food, it's locked in there.
Nice. And another thing that people believe in is that they think people add a lot of preservatives to the frozen food.
That's just not true.
That's right.
Yeah, okay? So those are myths. They're not true. So frozen food, good.
Enjoy your frozen food. Enjoy.
The cold hard facts about frozen food.
Frozen food has improved a lot since its start in the 1930s. But it still tends to get a bad rap. One of the most common worries about frozen food is that it's unhealthy. Surprisingly, when it comes to produce, frozen might actually be healthier than fresh. That's because fruits and vegetables lose nutrients when they're not eaten at their ripest. If they're frozen just after they are picked, these nutrients are locked in.
Today's lesson is called The Cold Hard Facts About Frozen Food, Part 2. Hi everyone, my name is Jeff.
And I'm Mike. And yeah, we're learning about frozen food. That stuff at the supermarket that you might just walk by and buy occasionally. You probably, like Jeff said yesterday, have a bag of frozen peas in your freezer somewhere. But we learned yesterday that frozen food is actually interesting with a very long history. Going back to 1,000 years BC in ancient China when everyone ate frozen food.
No,
Not really.
People kind of stored food with ice, but they weren't really using and consuming frozen food. In fact, frozen food, I should say, didn't really become a thing until World War II. And up until that point, people preferred canned food over frozen food. Anyways, though, frozen food has improved a lot since its start in the 1930s, but it still tends to get a bad rap. One of the most common worries about frozen food is that it's unhealthy. So somehow you freeze it and it becomes bad for you?
Well, I guess people think that freezing it, ruins the vitamins inside it or something like that. I've certainly heard that before. But it says, actually, in the article that the opposite is true. Surprisingly, when it comes to produce, frozen might actually be healthier than fresh. So you might think that some fresh vegetables, carrots or peas or something like that, right off the farm would be much healthier, or right out of the supermarket would be healthier, but it might actually be the frozen stuff. We'll find out why after we learn more about this very good supermarket term, produce.
Produce. And notice, we didn't say produce.
No.
We said produce. You can be sure that when people say produce like this, and you're in a grocery store, let's say, you can be sure that this word is being used as a noun. Okay, when we're talking about produce, we're usually talking about fresh fruit and veggies that you can buy at a market. That's the idea here. Now, more generally, when you're talking about produce, you're pretty much talking about just the stuff that farmers produce on a farm. And there you go, there's that word produce used as a verb. When you make something, you produce that thing. For example, Yvonne picked up some fresh produce at the market. There you go. She went and got some fresh Brussels sprouts.
Oh, that's another good vegetable that you can find frozen. So why would the frozen Brussels sprouts be as healthy or even healthier than the fresh ones? It says that's because fruits and vegetables lose nutrients when they're not eaten at their ripest. Yeah, so if you pick that vegetable or if you buy it in the market, then eat it hours later, well, then it might be as healthy as it can possibly be. But these fruits and vegetables, they lose nutrients. The vitamins sort of break down and go away when they're not eaten at their best or at their ripest.
But let's say you do pick those fruits and vegetables at the ripest, and then you freeze them immediately. Well,
it's like you stop time.
You stop time. If they're frozen just after they're picked, just after they are picked, these nutrients are locked in. There you go. Frozen food can be healthier than their fresh counterparts. All right, folks, with that, it's time for us to take a break. But don't go away. We'll be back soon.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。我们在第一天的课文读到，在2次世界大战期间，因为罐头食品短缺，就使得美国人改用冷冻食品。那从此之后，冷冻食品就变成厨房里面的必需品了。而冷冻食品从1930年代开始有了大幅的改善，可是它还是经常有这种不实的污名、不实的指控。我们这边来看3个重点。第一个，since 它表示自从，之后可以接表示过去的某个时间点的名词或者是子句，而它的主要子句则常用完成式表达。例如 The town has changed a lot since he left. 自从他离开之后，这个城镇改变了很多。The town has changed a lot since then. 从那时起，这个城镇改变了很多。那这2个例句就可以看出 since 后面接名词或是子句的用法。好，第2个重点是 tend to 加上动词，它表示往往会怎么样，经常怎么样。例如 Eric tends to wake up late on weekends. Eric 周末往往会晚起床。第3个重点 get a bad rap， 它是指受到不公平的指责，得到不实的污名。其中的 rap 不是饶舌乐哦，在这边它是指看法、评价，常常是指负面而有失公平的名声或是指责。例如 Beavers often get a bad rap, but actually they are beneficial to the environment. 河狸常常得到不实的污名，但其实它们对环境是有益的。好，那么人们对于冷冻食品最常见的担忧就是觉得它们不健康。可是其实以农产品来说，冷冻的可能比新鲜的还要更健康哦。这是因为蔬果如果你不是在它最成熟的时候吃，营养就会流失掉。如果你是在采完之后立刻冷冻，就可以把它的营养锁住。好，单字 produce。Produce 表示农产品，当这个意思来解释时是不可数名词。那这个字同学们应该也知道，它可以当动词来表达制造生产，可是当动词是念作 produce， 发音不同哦。Jeff 老师刚刚有讲到 Brussels sprout。Brussels sprout 它是指豹子甘蓝，它长得就像迷你高丽菜一样的那种菜。解华课文中。
The cold hard facts about frozen food.
Many people also falsely believe that frozen food contains lots of preservatives. However, it's not necessary to add preservatives to frozen food because most bacteria can't grow at freezing temperatures. Be careful when thawing frozen food, though, as that's when bacteria can start to grow. Never leave frozen food to thaw at room temperature. Instead, let it thaw either in the refrigerator, under cold water, or in the microwave.
Okay, so some people think that frozen food is not good for you. That's just not true. And there's more. Many people also falsely believe that frozen food contains lots of preservatives.
Ooh, okay. Preservatives, those chemicals they put into food to make it last longer, to make it taste or look fresher much longer. But of course, these are unnatural things they add into the food. These are the long words you see at the end of the package on your potato chips or something. Well, people think falsely, incorrectly, that frozen food contains stuff like that. No, it doesn't. It doesn't have to. It's frozen. They don't need to add things to make it look fresh because it's frozen when it is fresh. It doesn't contain preservatives. To contain basically means it has something in it. All right, so what does your bag contain? My bag contains all the stuff I need on my holiday. What does that cup contain? Oh, this cup, it contains some tea, right? So that's what's inside of it. We can talk about things being inside that you can take out, like the things in your bag, or we can talk about things that are part of something, like how an apple contains many types of vitamins. You can't take the vitamins out, but they're in there. They're part of that thing. For example, this bag of potato chips contains a large amount of salt and a large amount of nitrogen.
That's true.
They put the gas in there. That's why it's so puffy.
Speaking of salt, that's pretty much the main preservative for a lot of foods. Sure. People get really freaked out by preservatives. So maybe step back, think salt. It's not that bad. It won't kill us. But anyways, people also have this weird idea about frozen foods having these preservatives, and they think preservatives are bad. All right, let's take a look at this more objectively. However, it says, it's not necessary to add preservatives to frozen food because most bacteria can't grow at freezing temperatures. So there you go, preservatives. Maybe they're not even that bad. Maybe it's just some simple salt. There might be too much salt, but that's all right. But here with frozen food, they don't even add the preservatives to the food itself. They don't need those preservatives because the food's going to be frozen, and that freezing process makes sure that bacteria can't grow and make the food get rotten or anything like that. So there you go. It's not necessary to add preservatives to frozen food. By the way, if something is necessary, it's needed. You have to have that thing, all right? It's a necessity. Necessity would be the noun, necessary is the adjective. So if something's not necessary, it's not needed. You do not need to add preservatives to frozen food. So there aren't preservatives in frozen food. What are you worried about? For example, at my dad's office, it's not necessary to wear a suit and tie.
Okay, you definitely need those things. Let's talk about bacteria. All right, bacteria are basically very small, simple, living things. And when we think of this word, we think of things that get into our body and make us sick. You wash your hands because you don't want to get bacteria inside your body. You could get sick. When you get a cut, you make sure to wash it and clean it and cover it up because that cut could be a place where bacteria enters your blood and makes you sick. So bacteria are these things. There are good bacteria. Not all of them are bad. Good bacteria in our stomach help us digest our food and keep us healthy. But generally, when we talk about bacteria in sort of common language, we're talking about things that are kind of dirty or can make you sick, and that's why we clean ourselves and keep ourselves healthy. For example, washing your hands kills most of the bacteria on them, as well as killing a virus like COVID-19.
Now, be careful when thawing frozen food, though, as that's when bacteria can start to grow. So
it's not frozen anymore.
Frozen food, you don't need to add those preservatives there, but the moment that they're not frozen anymore, these foods, okay, that can become a problem. Those bacteria will start to grow once again, and, well, that's when you need to be careful. So, yeah, never leave frozen food to thaw at room temperature. Move the bag of peas there from your freezer into the fridge. Yes, it says instead, let it thaw either in the refrigerator or under cold water. That's an alternative, or in the microwave.
Oh, yeah. Many microwaves have that defrost option.
Yay. By the way, I don't have a microwave here in Taiwan, but back in the United States, I did. Microwaves were great. They were great for cooking Hot Pockets. Anyways, a microwave oven, that's like an oven that works by way of science. There's no fire, okay? You don't have like coils heating up like in a toaster. No, you actually cook food in that oven using microwaves. You're using radiation, space-age radiation to cook your food, but it's a great oven when you want to cook something quickly. For example, Bernie took the chicken out of the microwave, but it was too hot to eat. Yeah, it was super hot on the outside, but still frozen in the core there. Anyways, if you do want to eat a Hot Pocket, go for the microwave. All right, folks, with that, it's time for us to take a break. Mike, do you want a Hot Pocket?
I've never had a Hot Pocket.
Oh, you haven't lived, my friend.
I guess not, no.
好，有些人误以为冷冻食品含有很多防腐剂，那一听到防腐剂，大家都吓坏了。不过呢，冷冻食品它没有必要添加防腐剂，因为大多数的细菌在极冷的温度下是无法生长的。Jeff 老师刚刚用到 freak out 就可以表达吓到、吓坏了。那么其中的 freak 它是拼作 F-R-E-A-K。这边还有3个单字 contain。Contain 它表示包含，是当动词来用。例句就写到说，这袋洋芋片含有大量的盐，然后 Mike 老师说这包洋芋片也含有大量的氮气，所以这个包装才会鼓鼓这样砰砰的嘛。老师这时候用到 nitrogen 就是指氮或是氮气，我们来拼一下 N-I-T-R-O-G-E-N nitrogen。还有 puffy 这个字则是可以用来形容鼓鼓胀胀的或是浮肿的，这个字是拼作 P-U-F-F-Y puffy。好，下一个单字 necessary 它表示必要的、必须的。我们把字尾 A-R-Y 改成 I-T-Y 就可以变成 necessity。necessity 它可以指必需品或是不可或缺的事物。再来看 bacteria。Bacteria 表示细菌，那这个字呢，它其实是 bacterium 的复数形。课文接着提醒我们说，在解冻的时候要特别注意，因为这时候细菌会开始生长，千万不要把这冷冻食品放在室温下解冻，而是要把它放冰箱，或是放冷水里，或者是用微波炉来解冻。好，单字 microwave。Microwave 就是微波炉，它是 microwave oven 的简称。我们用微波炉加热的时候，有时候是不是那个食物的外表都热了，可是最里面还是冷的？这时候 Jeff 老师用到 core 这个字 C-O-R-E 就可以表达中心或是核心，或者是可以指水果的果核。好，那么补充单字 thaw 它表示解冻，是动词。那顺便学一下 defrost 这个动词也可以表达解冻或是除霜，这个字是拼作 D-E-F-R-O-S-T defrost。接着回到课文中。
The cold hard facts about frozen food.
If you pick the right frozen food, it can be just as nutritious and delicious as fresh food. It's no wonder that we keep reaching for frozen food after all these years.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap up our article on frozen food. If you pick the right frozen food, it can be just as nutritious and delicious as fresh food. Pick those frozen peas, it's the way to go. But remember, when you are defrosting your frozen food, okay, when you're warming it up, do it in the right way. You don't want that bacteria to start growing. That will not make for good eats.
Yeah, that's true. I find about a day before, if you want to use it, especially if it's something like meat, take it out of the freezer. About a day before, I'd say. Anyway, so yes, it's just as nutritious, just as delicious as fresh food. And the good thing is it won't go bad. So, you know, sometimes you have to throw away some fruit or vegetables because you kind of forgot about them. With fresh food, frozen food, you just use what you want. Put the bag back in the freezer. So it's no wonder that we keep reaching for frozen food after all these years, because it works, it's good for us, and it makes cooking and doing things like that around your house when you're busy so much easier. So here we go. What do you think? Here's our question. How does frozen food compare to fresh food? And don't say it's harder.
Well,
we know it's harder.
Well, it is until it defrosts,
yes,
but
yes.
no one eats frozen food in that way.
Probably not.
Anyways, a positive of frozen food is that it lasts. I love going to the Costco and buying hamburger, but you can never buy a small amount of hamburger at Costco. So what you can do is you can freeze whatever you don't use immediately. So that's a big positive of frozen food. Another is cost. Sometimes fresh fruits and vegetables that you buy at a market, they're going to cost a lot of money. So if you can buy frozen food, that can be a good alternative that can save you some money. Now, a negative of frozen food is that some vegetables, they just don't freeze well.
True.
Let's face it, okay? Peas do stay well, they stay frozen well, but things like broccoli and cauliflower and carrots, they just don't froze well. Sometimes not. Lettuce definitely doesn't work. No. And cabbage, same thing, doesn't work. Anyways, that's it for our article on frozen foods. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Eat well.
老师们刚刚聊到有些菜可能不适合冷冻，像他们提到类似青花菜 broccoli、高丽菜 cabbage、花椰菜 cauliflower， 还有莴苣 lettuce 等等。好，那么课文写到说，如果你选对冷冻食品，它就可以和新鲜食物一样营养美味。难怪这么多年后，我们还是继续在食用冷冻食品。这边有2个重点，第一个。句型 It is no wonder 加 that 子句表示什么什么一点也不足为奇，难怪怎么样怎么样。那么其中的 it 是虚主词，用来代替真正的主词是 that 子句。好，那么 no wonder 你还可以用 little wonder 或是 small wonder 来取代。例如 Someone left the window open. It's no wonder there are so many mosquitoes in the room. 有人没有关窗户，难怪房间里面会有这么多的蚊子。第2个重点 keep 加上动名词表示持续做某事，例如 The dog kept barking until the man walked away. 那只狗一直持续的叫，一直嗡嗡嗡嗡嗡，直到那名男子离开，它才停下来。好，那么以上这些讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
Hello， 各位同学，大家好，我是季安老师。我们今天带大家看一下简短对话。一样就是这个细节题啊，细节题，人物地点、人物的职业类别。好，我们来做一个比较长的练习。OK， 你看这边有3个题目 ，What are they mainly talking about？ 他们在讨论什么嘞 ？Buying another company， 买另外一间公司 ；Selling their company，Selling in Asia， 还是 stocks 啊 ？Stock 是股票。23题 ，Where might this conversation be taking place？ 这个对话可能是在哪边发生的？这边就是要尽情的脑补了哈，他可能不会特别讲哦，因为这边 might 表示要你去推断它。OK，in a restroom 在洗手间，洗手间讲话。In a boardroom 在会议室讲话哦，这个 boardroom 通常是开大型会议、比较正式会议的哦 boardroom。C 呢 in a kitchen 还是 in a living room？最后 ，How does the woman feel about the deal after talking to the man？ 这个女生呢，跟男生讲完话之后，觉得怎么样 ？Feel about the deal，所以呢，最后的地方，女生会表达她的 feel， 她的看法，所以要特别注意哦。She thinks a bad idea， 这不 OK。She agrees with what he says. She's hesitant， 有点迟疑哦，迟疑。About making any changes， 还是最后 She's unsure if the man is telling the truth， 不知道男生是不是在讲真话，可能是渣男乱讲话之类的。
Before, refer to the following conversation.
来咯。
So, should we go ahead with the buyout of Wonder Electronics?
Well, they haven't been doing well for a while, but we could certainly do with some of their innovation.
Yeah, and I could see our market growing in Asia if we do, so I'm all in.
Okay, I'm convinced too.
Number 22.
OK， 所以这3题呢，我们再听一次啊，应该听到这边就答案就出来了。前面呢比较不清楚啊，大家的这个口音比较不习惯，我们再听一次。
Refer to the following conversation.
So, should we go ahead with the buyout of Wonder Electronics?
Should we go ahead with the buyout of Wonder Electronics？ 我们是不是要买这个 Wonder 这个惊奇电子？ Buy out 买下来 ，OK 这个字啊，所以呢，这个第一题答案是什么呢 ？Buying another company A。
Well, they haven't been doing well for a while.
Well, they haven't been doing well for a while. 他们已经好一段时间呢，表现得不怎么样了。
But we could certainly do with some of their innovation.
We can certainly do with 我们可以拿他们什么东西来用 with some of their innovation 他们的创新可以拿出来用。
Yeah, and I could see our market growing in Asia if we do.
I can see our market growth in Asia if we do. 如果我们买下来，我们的市场在亚洲呢是会成长的。
So I'm all in.
I'm all in， 全部冲的这样，完完全全的赞成。I'm all in. I'm 100% in support of this.
Okay, I'm convinced too.
Okay, I'm convinced. Okay, 所以呢，这边答案3题啊，第一个就是 buying another company， 然后再来可能是在哪边发生的，他没有讲对不对？那你觉得会在哪里发生？这一男一女在讨论要不要买一家公司，绝对不可能在 kitchen 在 restaurant 都不可能嘛。In a living room， 也有可能啦，但是我觉得 B 是最好的啊 ，B 比 A 还要来得好。OK，B 比 D 还要来得好。OK， 也有可能是在客厅，但客厅应该就是要讲休闲的东西。OK， 最后 ，OK，she agrees with what he says， 他已经同意他了，所以这3题 A、B、B。OK，go ahead with the buyout。OK， 然后 innovation 创新这个字要特别注意一下，这是这个考试很常出现的。I'm all in。OK， 全部都投入了。最后 I'm convinced too， 我也被说服了 ，convince。OK。以上是我们今天的课程内容，我是季安老师，我们下堂课见，拜拜。
See you next time.